welcome. My name is Denise Comer. I'm acting director of the Thompson Writing Program. I wanted to welcome you here to this wonderful Deliberations Colloquium and say how excited we are to see such a great turnout and to have the incredible work of these authors honored and celebrated. I hope you're learning from them and talking with them. I would like to thank very briefly the students for your incredible work. Thank you so much. And for the faculty and staff who have worked to bring out this issue of Deliberations and to organize this colloquium. And I'll turn it over to our managing editor of Deliberations, Gordon Mantler, so he can say a few more words. So thank you.
No, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what Denise said, thanking you all for coming and welcoming you here to Duke, and for those of you who are from out of state and coming here for family weekend. Today is a culmination of months of work for myself, certainly for these student authors, many of whom started working on this project last October or November if they took Writing 20 in the fall, and then in February or March if they took it in the spring. And I can't say enough about how much I appreciate the hard work of the authors in this room and their patience with me, because I sent many of an annoying, nitpicky email to them over the summer, over and over and over again, saying, "What about this and what about that? Do you like this image? How does this image work for this essay?" So I really appreciate the hard work that they did, that their instructors did with them in the earlier parts of the revisions. And as well as the entire sort of team at the Thompson Writing Program, Melissa, who is I don't know where she is right now, but my right-hand man, woman in a sense, and Jenny for helping us with this event, the editorial board, who is made up of many of my colleagues, as well as librarians, and a few former Deliberations authors from last year. They all participated in the early culling of the essays, trying to figure out what would be the final 10 that would make it. So I want to thank everyone for their work. And for those of you who are Writing 101 students now, who are here because your instructors told you to come here and check this out, this could be you. This could be you. And I would really encourage you to come and consider submitting your final project. We'll have a call for papers in December, another one in April, and we're going to do in what we didn't do this year, but in addition to traditional essays that are written, published in the journal, we're going to do more multimodal, multimedia types of projects as well that'll be available through the Deliberations website. And we'll also have a presence in the published journal. So if you have that kind of final project, please, contribute and submit when you see the call for papers and your instructors urge you to do so. So again, thank you for coming and welcome. And yeah, that's it. Proceed.
Hi, I'm Connor Gordon. I wrote an essay for Deliberations called Voodoo in the Global Diaspora, and evaluating how voodoo is portrayed in America, Voodoo Authentica in particular, and seeing, is Voodoo Authentica, is it a good picture of what voodoo is in Haiti? And I ultimately come to the conclusion that voodoo in America is inauthentic, but is that a bad thing? And ultimately I argue that authenticity is a term that we use to evaluate culture, but it's something that is not a good way to evaluate culture anymore, and how culture, like adaptability, is a better way to evaluate culture. So yeah, it's my pitch, I guess.
I actually started with the National Geographic image and then expanded that with the New York Times covers of the two different art covers of the New York Times magazines. They were 3 years apart from each other. The first one was a woman showing her mastectomy scars, and it's just this very powerful image. And then the 3 years later, the New York Times magazine actually published another image with a supermodel on the cover, and she's also revealing her mastectomy scars, but in a very different, overly sexualized manner. So it was interesting seeing that dichotomy, that shift in thinking between those 3 years, and how breast cancer has become sort of a chic enterprise that corporations want to take part of.
And specifically, I looked at the exhibit's outreach materials, such as its educational materials and its website, and how these helped create the viewer's expectations of an experience of Africa.
How did you go about your research?
I basically examined the website itself. The Smithsonian has a very, very extensive website, and I analyzed it in terms of various scholarly articles that were written about the museum, but also just about experiences of Africa in general.
So our paper explored the existing obesity epidemic in America today and what it takes in order for us to become healthier as a nation. We realized that in order to combat obesity, we need to make really large-scale changes and change some really deep-seated lifestyle practices. So we proposed using existing processed foods in order to make small-scale changes that can lead to larger-scale change in the future. For instance, using no-calorie sweeteners and butter substitutes to cut added calories from sugars and fats from our diets.
But despite all of this video documentation, that doesn't tell the whole story. Is you can see what's happening, but it doesn't tell the human narrative often. And so you need feature films to help complicate the story of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War by creating providing people with the human side of it, and the different sides of it. One of the movie is Battle for Ethan tells the story of the insurgents, the victims of the Iraqi victims of the massacre, and the Marines, and it makes it hard to blame anyone for what happened. The insurgent just wants to provide. He's not doing it because he hates America. He's doing it to put food on his table. And the Iraqis are just trying to celebrate a birthday party when they get killed. And the Marines, their best friend gets blown up, and they don't know how to deal with it, and so they take out their aggression on a horrible way, but at the same time it's hard to blame anyone for what's happening, and so that sort of perspective is important. And then also sort of researching, I did a lot of researching how the use of film has evolved with regards to government and war and all of that, and so that was great and very, very interesting. The hard part, I think, at times was finding sources that sort of supported the arguments that I was making. There's a lot in the beginning that talks about how they're not helpful, and a lot of scholarly articles in that regard. But you had to really go into interviews and sort of op-ed pieces and stuff like that to get into why they're good.
I don't know what your high school background was like. I'm used to the library being basically synonymous for a useless waste of time. But at Duke, it's incredible. It's really useful. If you're willing to put in a little time refining your terms, you're going to find 10 or 20 things that are absolutely on point and useful to your paper. So that's basically the rest of it came from looking at those sources and what they had to say to develop my own kind of argument.
My project was based first on fieldwork that I did at a community cafe for the homeless in Durham, and I made an observation on the eating behavior, and from there extrapolated a much bigger analysis and argument that had 3 tiers, biological innate preferences for different types of food, and then I went to socioeconomic status and how that can limit our food choices. And the final piece, which was the bulk of the paper, dealt with how the sociological context of being homeless, and really of anyone, is going to impact their food choices regardless of financial ability or, accessible tools to prepare the food.